What practical solutions can we implement to address improper waste disposal? Improper waste disposal is one of those problems that we see almost every day, but because we see it so often, sometimes we stop noticing it. A plastic bottle left beside the road, a food container thrown into a canal, a garbage bag left on an empty lot, a cigarette butt dropped on the sidewalk, or a pile of mixed garbage that has been sitting in a corner for days. We may look at these things and think, it's just one piece of trash. But here's the problem. Millions of people making the same small decision can create a very big problem. So the question is not simply, how do we clean up our garbage? The better question is, how do we create a system and a culture where less garbage is thrown improperly in the first place? And the good news is that this problem can be addressed. It doesn't require one magical solution. It requires many practical solutions working together. Solutions that individuals, families, communities, businesses, and local governments can actually implement. Let's start with the individual. First, take personal responsibility for the waste we create. One of the simplest solutions is also one of the most important. If you create the waste, take responsibility for it. Don't throw a wrapper on the street simply because there is no garbage bin nearby. Don't leave your plastic bottle on a park bench because you assume someone will clean it up. And don't throw garbage into a canal because you don't want it in front of your house. If there's no proper disposal facility available, keep your trash with you until you find one. That may sound inconvenient, but protecting our surroundings sometimes requires a little inconvenience. We should also practice the simple principle of reduce, reuse, and recycle. Before buying something, ask, do I really need this? Instead of disposable products, use reusable bags, bottles, containers, and utensils when practical. And when something can still be repaired, reused, donated, or repurposed, don't immediately treat it as garbage, because the easiest garbage to manage is the garbage we never create. Second, make waste segregation simple and consistent. A major problem in many communities is that everything ends up in one bag. Food waste, plastic, paper, glass, metal, hazardous materials, everything gets mixed together. Once waste is mixed, recycling becomes more difficult and more expensive. So households should separate waste at the source. For example, biodegradable waste can be separated from recyclable materials and residual waste. But there's an important lesson here. Segregation only works if the system supports it. You cannot simply tell people to separate their garbage and then collect everything in the same truck. People will eventually ask, why should I bother? So segregation must be connected to an organized collection system. Third, communities can create neighborhood-based solutions. We don't have to wait for a national program before doing something. A neighborhood can organize regular cleanup activities. Schools can establish waste reduction campaigns. Homeowners, associations can identify illegal dumping areas. Community leaders can provide clearly labeled collection points. And residents can create simple agreements. Don't litter. Don't burn garbage. Don't dump waste into waterways. Report illegal dumping. Keep shared spaces clean. But community action shouldn't be limited to occasional cleanup drives. Cleaning a street today is useful, but preventing that street from becoming dirty tomorrow is even better. That's why communities should focus on behavior and accountability, not just cleanup. Fourth, make proper disposal convenient. Here's an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes people dispose of garbage improperly because they're careless. But sometimes the system makes proper disposal unnecessarily difficult. Imagine someone walking several blocks just to find a garbage bin, or a neighborhood without reliable waste collection, or a public area with no clearly marked disposal points. If we want people to do the right thing, we should make the right thing easier to do. That means providing enough properly maintained garbage bins in public places. It means having predictable waste collection schedules. It means establishing accessible drop-off points for recyclables and special waste. And it means making sure garbage doesn't simply accumulate because collection is unreliable. Convenience matters. Fifth, businesses must take responsibility too. Businesses are major producers of packaging and disposable materials. So businesses shouldn't think that their responsibility ends when a product is sold. They should ask, what happens to our packaging after the customer uses our product? Restaurants can reduce unnecessary disposable items. Stores can encourage reusable bags. Manufacturers can redesign packaging to use less material. Businesses can establish recycling or take back programs where practical. And companies can educate customers about proper disposal. This is especially important because businesses have the power to influence consumer behavior. When a company makes sustainable choices convenient, thousands or even millions of customers can change their habits. Sixth, local governments need to build a system that actually works. This is where government has a critical responsibility. Local governments can improve waste collection schedules. They can provide appropriate disposal facilities. They can enforce anti littering and illegal dumping regulations fairly and consistently. They can support recycling and composting programs. They can identify areas where illegal dumping frequently happens and determine why it keeps happening. And enforcement matters. If someone repeatedly dumps garbage in a riverbank or vacant lot, there should be consequences. But enforcement should not be the only strategy. Education without enforcement may be ignored. Enforcement without education may create resentment. We need both. People need to understand why proper waste disposal matters, and they need to know that rules will actually be implemented. Seventh, we should rethink our relationship with waste. This may be the most important solution of all. We often think of garbage as something that simply disappears once the garbage truck takes it away. But it doesn't disappear. It goes somewhere. It may end up in a landfill. It may be burned. It may enter waterways. It may eventually reach the ocean. And some materials can remain in the environment for decades or even much longer. So every time we throw something away, we should remember, away is not a place. There is no magical place called away where garbage ceases to exist. That mindset can change the way we behave. Instead of asking, where can I throw this? We can start asking, how should this be disposed of responsibly? That's a very different question. And ultimately, solving improper waste disposal isn't just about having cleaner streets. It's about protecting our health. It's about preventing clogged drainage systems. It's about reducing pollution. It's about protecting rivers, oceans, animals, and communities. And it's about creating places where children can grow up without thinking that garbage scattered everywhere is normal. But here's the most important point. We don't need to wait for everyone else to change before we change. Start with one household, one street, one school, one business, one barangay, one local government, one person, because environmental problems can feel enormous when we look at them from a distance. But solutions become much more manageable when we bring them closer to home. Maybe today, we can start by bringing a reusable bottle. Maybe we can properly separate our household waste. Maybe we can pick up a piece of trash instead of walking past it. Maybe we can remind a friend or family member, not by embarrassing them, but by encouraging them to dispose of their waste properly. Maybe a business owner can rethink unnecessary packaging. Maybe a community leader can organize a better collection system. Maybe a local government can improve enforcement and provide better facilities. Small actions may seem insignificant, but repeated small actions become habits. Habits become culture, and culture can change communities. So, if we really want to solve the problem of improper waste disposal, let's stop asking only, who is responsible for cleaning up our garbage? Let's also ask, what can I do to create less waste, dispose of it properly, and encourage others to do the same? Because a clean community doesn't happen by accident. It happens when people decide that keeping their surroundings clean is not somebody else's job. It's our job. And perhaps that's where the real solution begins. Not with a bigger garbage truck. Not with another cleanup campaign. Not with another sign saying, Bawal magtapon ng basura dito. But with a simple decision made by each of us. The waste I create is my responsibility. If enough of us make that decision, and if our communities, businesses, and local governments build systems that support it, we can turn the problem of improper waste disposal into an opportunity to build cleaner, healthier, and more responsible communities. Because ultimately, the kind of environment we live in reflects the kind of responsibility we are willing to take. And keeping our surroundings clean doesn't begin when someone else picks up the trash. It begins with us deciding not to throw it there in the first place.